Grand Rising loves, this is the altar spread for the collective today. So the sacred geometry that showed up is dodecahedron, but it showed up in the reverse. And so dodecahedron is one of the Platonic solids. And so if you remember me mentioning this before, any of the Platonic solids, they are perfect creation, but they hold very specific wisdom. And so this is knowledge and knowledge of self. But what it's saying is this knowledge of self is convoluted. So when you have authentic knowledge of self, you also start to realize that you are just a facet of a whole. And so that's unity consciousness. That's the one. Dodecahedron showing up in the reverse says you have gotten away from that. Like you don't even realize your connection to everything because you are spending too much time in your mind and there's too much judgment and ego that it's actually perpetuating the separateness, the duality of consciousness. And so if you just even meditate on this shape, then you can actually unlock that wisdom that is your birthright. And here I have a quartz dodecahedron. And so really connecting with yourself, learning to meditate is probably, well, no, not probably, it is the most transformative thing one can do. And I've never taught in a way where I would say sit, be still, quiet the mind, and then you unlock all of these psychic gifts, because that's a pipe dream and that's bullshit. Because unless you have a full understanding, one, of even what that voice is, you can't quiet it, because a lot of people aren't even aware of that. And 98% of the people walking the earth plane have amnesia. And I was a very lucky, super small percent, and there may be 1% of the people walking the earth that are like me, that can operate the way that I do, use my parts in the human experience the way that I do. And that's why I teach, but I was never taught to teach. And I know that my success rate is high because of that, because I have a full understanding of what I teach. And that's super important to be a spiritual teacher, is to have an understanding of what you're teaching. You can't just regurgitate information and think that someone else is going to pick that up and learn it. It's the same with reading a book or taking a class in a university. There's lots of people that are drawn to things just because of the paycheck or the prestige, and that's not your purpose here in the human experience. And so dodecahedron in reverse is saying you have to get back in touch with you, and first of all quiet the mind to find the real you. And so if you have this incessant monkey mind thing going on, or if you were even taught that awful thing, think before you speak, more than likely you're in that. And like I said, like 98% of adults are in amnesia, and I can feel that when I meet them. I don't dive deeper because that's rude. Like I had mentioned before, that's like walking up in someone's house without permission, and it's the same idea going into their mind, but I can feel it. It's an energetic. This person is in ego, in judgment. And unfortunately, a whole lot of people in the spiritual community don't have the substance to get out of that space either. So I'm not surprised that this showed up. It's cool though, because it showed up for me the other day upright, but it's also showing me the lag in the collective. So yeah, get in touch with yourself. But the first step really is having an awareness of that voice, because it takes you out of the present moment, because it doesn't know anything about the present moment. Because in the present moment, that's the only place and that is real. So you can access the authentic real you only in the now. And so that ego, that programming wants to take you out of now. And so that's what the incessant thoughts are going to be doing. Either planning a to-do list, like a constant state of anticipation, or a constant rehashing of what's already happened. So just be aware of that. And Beauty Way is a beautiful card. I mean, first of all, look at it. My totem, the dragonfly, I love that. But Beauty Way talks about finding that which is beautiful. And so if you remember the card that showed up, I think it was last week, that talked about just looking for anything, even if it's one small thing, to be grateful for, because it's so beautiful and it's part of your environment, it's part of your life, part of your experience. Find it and be grateful for it. Like me saying, isn't that a beautiful card? Look at the dragonfly. And 4 is also a very significant synchronicity for me. So Beauty Way is saying, get out of your head and be present so that you can find that beautiful thing. So it's a cohesiveness to this spread today, bringing yourself out of the mind and into the heart so that you can be aware and present. And so tourmaline brings the same message, and that shows up so much. I bet everyone that normally watches me can probably say exactly what tourmaline is all about. And it's the same. It's the same message as this beautiful arc of cards in the top of the spread to quiet the mind and bring yourself into the heart so that you can find that inner peace. Because in the mind, there is no peace. That incessant overthinking and chatter, there is no peace there. And the only place where you can access bliss, peace, health, and wellness, and your authentic self is in the present moment. And so tourmaline can do that, can quiet everything and bring you back to you. So this is pink tourmaline. Isn't that beautiful? But it grows with these ridges and striations. And I just bought, this is my most recent with Monica's trinkets. She's such an amazing craftswoman. But I bought this to put on my waist chain. And this is a green tourmaline. Isn't that beautiful? I'm trying to get it. There we go. Isn't that beautiful? It's so icy. It's so beautiful. So I think I'm going to wear that today. And this is a watermelon tourmaline. So again, it's raw, so you could see the ridges. But if you look, watermelon tourmaline is called that because of the green, the dark green rind, right? And then it turns to lighter green, and then that pink, that inner pink. And I have that raw tourmaline in Matrix that I like sharing too. Isn't that pretty? But I like that one especially because it looks like a heart. But that is a beautiful piece. And in Matrix just means that it's still in the stone that it was growing in. But it's very pretty. And so lastly, the Padma Sundari, out of the darkness, the light is born. And this card speaks about there being a light. There is a light that can retain its purity, its empowerment, and its strength, even in the darkest of dark situations, moments, and spaces. And that is the light of spirit. And I love the cohesiveness of today's spread, because if you quiet the mind and get back to self, That is not only how you access this light that is unscathed and untouched by even the darkest dark. This is the light that is you, and it increases in every deep communion. And so I love this because this is the end result of doing those things. And so we are born with three parts. We are born with an intellect, a physical body, and a soul. But the soul is who you really are. And you can call it a spirit body, energy body, soul, spirit, however you feel comfortable calling it, really. And this has nothing to do with religion, by the way. Spirituality predates religion by millennia. And that is the original peoples, and which I do also have full memory of my soul's existence long before any religion, long before duality consciousness. So I actually have a memory of what unity consciousness felt like, looked like, and I am working diligently to return that to the earth plane because that is my purpose. Now, the intellect was only ever meant to be like a colander, so that spirit can come through you and sound like you. But unfortunately, people use it as a database, a storage unit, so like a computer, and it stores information. But unfortunately, it stores information in a very dysfunctional way. But know this, that voice is not you. So you are not conversing with yourself when you're in your head. You are conversing with someone else's version of you, and that is insanity, and it will make you insane. That is what actually ends up manifesting physiologically as depression and anxiety, is thinking that that's you and being there in that headspace. So the intellect was only ever meant to be a tool, so the information can come through it, and then you can navigate this space, you can navigate this earth space and communicate. But unfortunately, a lot of people contract amnesia. Now the earth suit, the physical body, what is literally that, just a suit. So just like putting on a spacesuit to walk the surface of the moon, we put on this earth suit so that we can walk the surface of the earth. And it's this biological suit that is all feeling. But we tend to store shit in our earth suit, trauma, emotion, so that the human experience can teach us through those feelings. So the feelings are the closest thing to spirit than all of those parts. The mind is not, the physical self is not, but those emotions are. That's like the window into self, or that oil slick floating on top of the pool that is the real us. And then the soul is, of course, the authentic real us, and that has always been intended to be in the driver's seat. It is the ever infinite, never changing observer, because everything that you experience in this human experience has been planned by that infinite self. And so, like I said, we can have this conversation, but I don't believe really in free will during the human experience. Free will exists in the planning stage, but once you're in it, it's already been planned. So that is the spread for the day. And really try to bring your awareness into that. What's happening in my head? And I'd be willing to bet that you spend a good 1/3 of your life waiting. We are always rushing to wait. And in those waiting spaces, that's when people tend to check out, because portraying someone else's version of yourself is excruciating and exhausting. And your inner higher self knows it. And so this discomfort happens, and then you just allow the ego to take over. And so try to bring your awareness to that. And then the rest is just a constant whittling down. But thank you. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the amnesia. Please forgive me.